I believe God is truly trying to lead someone watching to a greater place of service and usefulness for his glory. However, you must be careful not to get too comfortable and secure in your present place. You see, doing this could prevent you from actually getting where God desires you to be. In today's message, I'll be sharing a story about Abram and his instructions given by God regarding his relocation. If we're meeting for the first time, I'm Donnice Tabor, pastor of Divine Church in Metro Atlanta, where we believe it's all about his will, his way, his word. Let us now receive this short but inspiring message. Genesis, the 12th chapter, verses 1 through 5. Now the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will shew thee. And I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great. And thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him. And Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And for a point of emphasis, that verse 1 and 4 in your hearing again. Verse 1, Now the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will shew thee. Verse 4, So Abram departed, as the Lord spoken unto him. And Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. At the opening of this morning's lifted text, God has promised to bless Abram and to make him great. But God had one condition. You see, Abram had to be obedient. This meant leaving his home, friends, and traveling to a new land where God promised to build a great nation for Abram and his family. Abram obeyed, walking away from the known straight into the unknown, doing this all based on the promises of God. With all this in mind, I want to speak to you for the next few moments from this thought. Getting to requires coming from. God may be trying to lead some of us to a place of greater service and usefulness for his glory, but we must be careful not to let the comfort and security of our present position prevent us from getting where God desires us to be. You see, as I studied, meditated, and prayed regarding this text, the Holy Spirit revealed several things to me as it relates to becoming recipients of God's promises. You see, the text shows us in Abram's story that sometimes there are several things that must take place in order to receive the promised blessings of God. Getting to requires coming from. The first thing I noticed seeping from this text was Abram was told to get out. You see, in verse 1, it says, Get thee out from his country. In other words, from his hometown, which no doubt was a comfort zone. He's required to depart from his kindred. In other words, from his family. And yes, sometimes in order for us to be productive for God, he has to remove us from the presence of family, which might have become our source instead of him being our source. The word states, from thy father's house. Could it be that sometimes our own parents' help becomes hurt? The takeaway here is this. Sometimes we stay too long in familiar places surrounded with familiar faces. Getting to requires coming from. The second thing I noticed leaking from this text was he had to get together. In verse 5, the A clause, it says, And Abram took Sarah his wife and Lot his brother's son. Given Abram's age at the time of our text, which was 75, clearly you can understand he knew he needed some support of family, although he was being required to leave the majority of his family behind. He was wise enough, however, to get together a few of them to take on the journey with him. The takeaway seems to be that sometimes God allows us to be supported by familiar faces in unknown places. Getting to requires coming from. The third thing I noticed pouring from this text was he had to gather up. Verse 5, the B clause, and all their substance that they had gathered and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. You see, when God allows us to accumulate material things, we see here in the text, it's referred to as substances. He's usually preparing us for future plans that he has for us. And as we see in this text, sometimes that might even be people that he allows in our lives to be there for us, to assist us when our daily needs become greater. The takeaway here is sometimes God allows familiar things in unfamiliar places and familiar faces to assist us in our new place. Getting to requires coming from. The fourth and final thing I noticed flowing from this text was go. In verse 5, the C clause, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. Bear in mind that the Lord, in the latter part of verse 1, unto a land that I will shew thee. In other words, to an unknown land. The takeaway is this: God sometimes says go, but won't even say where until we depart our current place. In review, first, we must get out. Second, get together. Third, gather up. And fourth, go. In closing, please remember, in order to get to another place in life, we must be willing to come from the current place we're at. Getting to requires coming from.